What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500 or more, you're guaranteed 20. And deposit $2,000 more, you're guaranteed 40. The offer ends very soon, in just about 2 weeks from now. Anyways, now let's talk about the charts. So, Tesla made a very, very interesting move. We have a nice cup and handle like structure. I was expecting a test of about 353 at least, and I did mention that if we broke that, we're looking for essentially these highs to be retested. Looking at Tesla, the same thing happened. We pushed up to these highs around 362, and then we came back down. So that's a very, very nice move that Tesla's made so far. So we're going to be likely gapping up. But there is this pre-market gap to fill. So there's a chance it does dip a little bit before it tries to bounce again. But as long as we ride above our 50 and 20 EMAs, we could come back down and then continue this uptrend and continue to push even higher. So it's going to be the most likely case for Tesla. The cup and handle looks very solid. And so far, we're doing a good job. Now, there was some news that came out about how the global market value is continuing to surge for Tesla as their sales remain very, very strong. We saw their overall valuation hit a $1.1 trillion market cap. That's as a result of new potential regulations to be relaxed to help FSD develop a lot quicker. So that's what's been really helping Tesla fuel this rally. And so far, there's no signs that Tesla's done yet, and it could continue to push more. Besides that, there's been some more talk in China. The Tesla Model Y discounts and options in China are once again shifting as we're starting to see more discounts between $1,000 and $1,380 to help get those end of year sales up. This is particularly more prevalent for the Model Y. You guys can see right over here, the different variants are getting different prices, and these incentives are going to once again help them. They're also looking at 5-year loans that are extended, and they're looking at potentially 0% interest financing for the Model 3 and Model Y through the end of the year as well. So hopefully this gets their sales up to finish the year. We are expecting some strong numbers, and that's going to set us up very, very nicely for next year, where it has like very, very strong expectations. Besides that, I do want to call out some data. So today is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. And happy December, by the way. December just started yesterday. Just know this 15 minutes after the stock market opens at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI report. And then also at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we also happen to have our ISM manufacturing new orders, manufacturing prices, and more manufacturing numbers. So expect some high volatility for the first 15 and 30 minutes after market open, especially the first 30 minutes at 10 a.m. Once we see this data, we'll have to see if there's some kind of big move in reaction in the markets, so give it some time. Besides that, there's not really much else that's coming out. Our economic calendar is very quiet, at least for the time being. Just for today, we do have some minor earnings coming out later on, at least for retail, but there's nothing too crazy in my personal opinion. Besides that, I want to mention to you all that the market's continuing to hold up very well, but watch resistance because the market's approaching that. Besides that, I didn't see anything else that's too crazy that came out. So with that being said, let's now just focus on the technicals. So as far as Tesla goes, we pumped very nicely towards this high, but we have a very tough resistance between 360 and 362. Now, as soon as we hit this during the pre-market, we did kind of reject here. So this oftentimes signifies that we could be coming down a little bit lower, coming back to fill this gap before it tries to bounce again. So there might be a little bit of a dip coming to Tesla. Watch 352 as our main support. If it does not hold, we could be looking for a move back down towards 345 or so, and we'll see if Tesla gets a bounce. Now, whether or not we get a big push or bounce depends on the status. Look for some volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. But my prediction yesterday was correct about Tesla hitting 353 and getting a little bit of a push. It already happened during the pre-market, and now we're going to likely gap up very close to what we predicted. However, with this gap, what could happen to Tesla is you kind of push it but then come back down, so be very careful. Make sure you watch our resistance levels around 356 and then 362. And if we lose 352, we're looking for essentially that gap fill back down to 346. And we'll see if we bounce off that or not. So keep that in mind. We might kind of push a bit, and there's possibly going to be a little bit of a dip coming to fill that gap before Tesla tries to bounce again. And overall, the trend is still bullish despite that. As far as SPY goes, I do want to call this out. We're doing a good job at holding up, but just know this. On the 30 minutes time frame, SPY does have some potential to push a little bit higher. They might try to fill this gap back up towards 603. If we break 603, look for 604 and 605 as our resistance areas. But just be careful. I think SPY is going to push a little bit to fill this gap, but we'll have to see if we get a rug pull or not, depending on this data. So be careful with the first 15 and 30 minutes. If we get the rug pull, we're going to be looking for essentially 601.27 as our first support. If we lose that, I think we could be dipping all the way back down towards 600. And if 600 fails us, we look for 590, 598-ish, around that range. If we break past 604, we remain more bullish. I do expect a little bit of a push from here, but then we'll see if we get a rug pull or not, depending on our economic data. For Nvidia is more bullish overall. We need to see if we can break past 138. If that breaks, we're looking for 140. If we lose 135.9, we turn more bearish. I think for now, we're going to do a little shuffle here. We'll have to see if we can hold above 138s to hit 140 plus. But look for some sideways price action between 135.9 and 138 for now. There's a possibility we kind of break past this and hit the 140 area soon. But I think we shuffle a bit first before we try to get that breakout. For ES, it looks more bullish. This might attempt to push for this high here, but just be careful because we had a high here, we came down, and now we could be making a lower high. We're near all-time highs at 6,050, but we'll see if we get a rejection here or not, depending on the data. If we get that rejection, we're looking for 6,030 as a potential target, not to mention 6,000. If we break that, we could be pushing higher. So there's going to be a risk of this pushing, then tipping back down towards 6,030. So keep that in mind. For other factors out there, we have Bitcoin. This has a head and shoulders like structure, but simultaneously it's like an inverse head and shoulders. So I want to see Bitcoin reclaim 96,300 before it continues to go higher. In my video yesterday, I called out 98,000. We did hit that only to come back down. So it could push here, but if we reject, we're looking for 94,000 as our main support. It might push for about 96,000 before it rejects. So just be very careful with the way that this is moving. For other factors out there, we have NQ. NQ is on a very, very nice uptrend so far. If we lose 20,880, we are going to be dipping lower. If we continue to push, we're looking for 21,100. My gut tells me this might dip a bit and continue to uptrend for 21,100. So we'll see if we break that resistance or not. For the QQQ, we're on a very, very nice uptrend right now as well, at least relative to the markets. So I think that we're going to likely continue this push just to start things off. We do look more bullish. We could be looking for a test of 512. But just know this, the last time we hit the 512 to 515 area, we did reject. So there might be a small push coming to this for the 512. So we'll see if we get a rejection or not. So just be careful. But look for more upside. If we reject, we're looking for 508 as our potential targets. But look and see what happens. Apple's also at some tough resistance at 238. If that breaks, we look for 240. If not, this is going to be at risk of coming down to 234. So I see a risk of this coming back down for a test of 235 if we reject off 238. So just keep that in mind. For MSTR, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. It's going to be attempting for 395 plus, if not 420, if that breaks. But be careful, if we do hit that resistance, we could reject again. So we'll just have to see how it goes. For the IWM, we look more bullish. We're actually consolidating between 240 and essentially 244, going back and forth and back and forth. If we break past 244, though, we're looking for an even bigger pump. I think we just consolidate for the time being on the IWM. We might retest 240. We'll have to see what kind of reaction we get. But as of right now, we're range bound. If 240 fails us, we're looking for 237. And if 244 breaks, we turn more bullish. Otherwise, we're just range bound. For coin, completely range bound. If we end up losing 290, we're looking for a dip back down for 280. If we manage to break past 320, we're looking for a pushback up for 330. Otherwise, we're just completely range bound. For Amazon, we're looking more bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows. If we end up losing 208, we're looking for essentially 205. But as long as we're above 210, we're looking for essentially 212. For Meta's on a very, very nice uptrend, continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. We're looking for 580 as our potential target, eventually 582.5. Microsoft is a little bit more bullish as long as you don't lose 420. We're looking for a pushback up for 427. And then for Google, we're holding up very nice. If we break past 171, we're looking for essentially 172.4. Otherwise, we're just completely range bound. With that being said, guys, the market has some potential to push a little bit upon open, but the issue is with the data release coming out, that could lead to a small dip or a pump. We'll have to see what the data leads to. Tesla does have this gap to fill, so there's a good chance it's going to be dipping lower, so keep that in mind. And we'll see what happens with all this data being released by 10 a.m. So look for some high volatility by 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate you guys for your attention. I'll see you guys very soon within just a couple of hours. Thank you for listening and peace out.